Start. So let's start with a basic introduction of
Mhm.
uh, the same. Who are you? What's your background? And how come and you're an Indian and you're in Bhutan? Let's start with that.
Okay. Basic introduction. Name is Sneha. Family name Poddar. Uh, Born in Bengal, brought up in Gujarat to a Marwari family, so multicultural. Uh, Currently in Bhutan, working on a project. What drew me to Bhutan was the philosophy of cross-national happiness. And then while working, as a chartered accountant and then later as an economist, I realized that, I was intrigued by this philosophy and wanted to see that how we can really operationalize it. So I think that's what brings me to Bhutan.
Okay, so when was the first time that you uh, entered Bhutan and like got to know about the stuff that you're doing right now? And like when was the first time that you got introduced to these things?
Hmm. The first time when I came to Bhutan was in 2019, and I came,
Mhm.
uh, driving all the way from Gujarat to Bhutan. And then the moment you enter from the Funsling gate, you suddenly feel that difference, right? And then
Yeah.
you're intrigued by the country and by the stark difference, just that the border gate brings it. So um, I was there to research on. At that time, I was curating educational experiences, so I was here to research on experiences that I can curate for students, particularly architecture students and school children. That's when I came to know about Bhutan's philosophy of GNH. And during that time, I heard this famous saying here that in Bhutan, nature nourishes the body and Buddhism nourishes the mind. Okay, so I think that stayed with me. And then also the philosophy of GNH, and also the fact that there are no billboards in the country, right? So that was quite different to experience. No traffic lights.
So has it this focus on GNH, like Bhutan has it since the beginning, or like the focus on GNH started somewhere around 2020 or COVID, or they have been like this from the beginning?
So that's the thing about Bhutan. It has been, it has its monarchs.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, it's their enlightened leadership which led to it. So in 1970s, when the rest of the world was obsessed with GDP and economic growth, Bhutan said that GNH matters more than GDP. So
Mm-hmm.
the king then realized that the it doesn't matter if the farmer in his country is earning less as long as he is content, you know. So that's why he said that
Mm-hmm.
matters more than GDP. So since 1970s, 1974 particularly, it has been the philosophy of Bhutan, and it's the its development is guided through the principles of GNH.
Okay, so like has the journey when you started in 2019, so has the journey been really smooth of whatever you've been doing, or have you faced any challenges during that? And uh, you know how the initial idea it grew smoothly into what currently you are doing with Omni Villages and this app that you have created. So I want to know more about that journey, like how
Mm.
it happened.
Mm. I would say that it has been smooth, but it definitely has been adventurous, and I've enjoyed every bit of it and every moment of it. Um, so it started with pandemic 2020, when I was locked down here for 8 months. Not particularly
Mhm.
lockdown, but because India was locked down, I couldn't go back. So, and Bhutan didn't face lockdown as such, only for a month or two. So we were free here to roam, but that gave me a lot of time, free time to introspect, to delve deeper into the philosophy of GNH and then the economics of happiness. So Helena Norberg's work as well, which is her book on economics of happiness, also shaped my thinking
Mm-hmm.
that point of time, and her emphasis on local, creating local economies. So I was researching on the barriers, the what are the barriers to operationalizing GNH, or what are the barriers to well-being in general all around the world, not only in Bhutan but also in India and other countries. That's when I realized that how GDP has been not a very good indicator of our progress, and how it has many defaults, and then how we have been so far led by it as our measure of progress, and we have been blindly following it just to in this race of increasing, going on to increase GDP without considering the fact that whether it is really leading to well-being or not, and particularly climate change, that how we are over consuming. So being a chartered accountant, my chartered accountant, the mind that I have of a chartered accountant,
Mm-hmm.
started viewing this from a balance sheet perspective, that how we are consuming more than what we have. So we are depleting our assets faster than we can regenerate it. Okay. So I realized that maybe, we can solve this problem if we can visualize our success, and if we can measure our progress by compiling a balance sheet rather than just on a metric of GDP, which is equivalent to measuring just the sales of an entity. That's just the sales figure of an entity.
Mm-hmm.
But like for any entity, its accounting is never complete without the balance sheet, compilation of a balance sheet, right? So I realized
Mm-hmm.
that even globally, our accounting is not complete because we do not compile a global balance sheet, and that is why we are being misled. So the journey started with, this realization of the need for a One Earth balance sheet, and then progressing further, that how we can really compile this balance sheet, and then Helena's insight, and then my co-author and mentor in this journey, Andrew's insights, that it has to be bottom up, and the sufficiency has to
Mm-hmm.
happen first at the local level, regional level, national level, and then at the global level. So this whole idea came up of,
So,
yeah.
just sorry to interrupt you. Like, just a quick question. Like, I want to know what other cultures or economic systems that you've seen, like, other than Bhutan, that might have influenced your current workings. Like, I know that you've been in Ladakh and you curated experience there, and you've been in Indonesia. So I just want to know how these experiences from different places have curated your current way of doing things.
Hmm. uh, I mean, Ladakh gave me, gave me a taste of history, because I
Mm-hmm.
remember going to a community there, near Kargil. I'm trying to recall the name, but it's a community which is still cut off from, the modern world. So they do
Mm-hmm.
not have phones. They do not even buy their shoes or other things from outside. They make their own clothes. They make their own shoes and other things. And very happy village. If you go there, you are always greeted with smiles, and then there's this sort of contentment on the faces of the people, which is hard to see when you are in a city, and I think more civilized than how the city people are in terms of the use of language and respect.
Mm-hmm.
So it Ladakh gave me a taste of history, and then also being in Leh, was like in a period of transition, wherein on one hand they are trying to still protect their heritage, and the compassionate way of being which Buddhism brings to that region, and on the other hand they are trying to navigate the modern world and its challenges and the mindset shift that it brings with it. So there as well, I realized the strong need of awareness and different ways of doing things. And working at Himalayan Institute of Alternatives, which was all about alternatives, gave a great push and confidence to me towards this thinking. And being in Malaysia, sorry, not Indonesia, but Malaysia, was again a great contrast. Okay, so in Malaysia, again, we were trying to do this OmniVillage project, but the Malaysian history is very complex compared to Bhutan or Ladakh, because both of these regions have never been colonized. The rest of the India was colonized, but because of the difficulty to reach Ladakh, Ladakh at least was
Mm-hmm.
never colonized, and same with Bhutan. Bhutan was never colonized, so they do not have this historical mental baggage that colonization left in other parts of the world, and in Malaysia that's quite prominent. And then there's a lot of identity issues in Malaysia, because there's so much diversity, but there's lack of unity in that diversity. Okay, so it's difficult to there's because of the lack of trust, it's difficult to work in that country. But in Bhutan and in Ladakh, I think it's not that difficult, because at least at the meta level, at the paradigm level, they are convinced with gross national happiness, or compassionate ways
Mm-hmm.
of being. Whereas in Malaysia, I think they're so deeply entrenched now into GDP mindset that first a lot of work needs to be done at the meta level. Only then we can shift to macro, meso, or micro levels. Whereas in these
So,
regions,
uh,
the meta is already there. Yeah.
mhm. So, do you think that these regions being very remote, like less accessible than other regions in India, that has a role to play in how the culture has been conserved and pretty, like, of course, one factor you told that they were never colonized, but even after India gained independence, like it's still hard to reach Ladakh and still hard to reach areas like Bhutan, right? It's not easy for you to enter as a tourist and go anywhere in Bhutan. So what role does this I would say this natural barrier, that they are remote places, and then there's also a political barrier. Suppose Bhutan has a this sustainable development fee, and then you need to have a guide if you're a tourist. So what role do you think does these political and natural barriers play in preserving the culture? And is it
Mm.
good, is it bad? Like what role does it play as per you?
Mm. I mean, it comes with its own costs also. Of course, I mean, if there is this natural barrier, for these regions, it becomes very difficult to get access to resources, right, or to get access to even information and knowledge. Not now because of widespread use of internet, but before, knowledge and access to information and resources were limited, right? But on the positive
Mm-hmm.
side of the things, I think it has helped to help these regions to keep their culture intact, and also their own ways of being. So when the rest of and it is positive when only when the rest of the world is getting increasingly corrupted. Okay, if the rest of the world was doing really well and not being corrupted, and was really doing well in terms of well-being, then for these regions it could have been disadvantaged, right, because of its natural barriers and other barriers. But because the rest of the world is increasingly getting corrupted, so it has been a blessing in disguise.
Mm-hmm. Right. Okay, so now that we have a little background about your thinking and what have you been doing, let's dive deep into currently what is your project exactly, and
Mhm.
then we can discuss more about your future plans.
So what we're trying to do is we are not doing anything new. we're not claiming that we're doing here anything new, but what we are trying to do is that we are trying to weave together the silos, um, recognizing the fact that the problems that we face currently, be it climate change, be it war, be it mental health challenges, be it social inequalities, it cannot be solved through just one initiative or approach. It cannot. I mean, like many say that technology can solve all of our problems, right? Then there are deniers who say that no, technology cannot solve our problems. We need something else. We need mindset shifts, and we need intentional communities and this and that. So what we are trying to do is that reconcile these differences and acknowledge the fact that none of these initiatives in silo can solve the problems, but rather create an ecosystem of initiatives or weave together an ecosystem of initiatives that can work together to solve these problems simultaneously. Because it comes again from the realization of the fact, and we are not the first ones to realize it. There are many now who have realized it, that all of these problems are interconnected and interrelated, and it is really stemming from the status quo system that we are compiling to, largely built around the GDP paradigm. So if we need to change, then the system in itself needs to change, for which the paradigm needs to change, the goal of the system needs to change, and therefore the way of the being also needs to change. And with that comes changes in how we organize our institutions, how we relate to each other, how we educate ourselves, and
So
the
where does this name Omniverse come from?
Omniverse in if we look at the literal meaning of it, it means unity in diversity, right? Omni means encompassing all, right? So that's why the name, because we are weaving together the silos. So there was this um, earlier, as you would know, there was this whole movement of universalism, right? Towards standardizing things, towards doing things that comply to certain standards, be it building codes, be it our clothing, be it our food, or whatever we were, pushing towards universalism. And then recently now there is a growing movement towards pluriversalism, right? Which stems from this realization that we need diversity. But what that ignores is that even in diversity there is inherent unity. You cannot ignore the inherent unity or the interconnectedness or the interdependence that is there. So Omniverse is like a middle path between the two. Okay. So unity in diversity. So that's where the name, comes from.
Okay. And just tell me a bit more about this like one earth balance sheet idea. Like just dive deeper into how are you planning to, scale this initiative? What places have you tested it already? What were your challenges? What were your learnings?
Mm. Yeah, first of all, I would like to clarify that this is not an idea, but a logic, okay, which I think many people have already arrived onto. Maybe it's just that we are all using different language or terminology to convey this or articulate it. All right. So but the basic logic behind it is of balance. Okay. That, for example, if India is today facing water crisis, we know that by 2030, 40% of the Indian population would be facing water crisis. So the first thing the government realizes that it needs to do, out of sheer logic, is to create water balance sheet for India, to know how much do we have and how much is needed, and where is that, and how we can balance it. So, but that needs to happen not only at national level, because today we are globalized and we are interconnected, between continents sharing resources. It needs to happen at the planetary level. But we cannot do it from a top down approach, okay, because that would not give us enough insight that is needed to solve the problems at the grassroots level. For example, SDGs, Sustainable Development Goals, are the high level goals, right? But till today, only 12% of it has been realized actually. And the reason why it has not been, it is so difficult to realize is that how can we translate it at the grassroots level? Okay, so there needs to be a bottom up approach. So, our approach towards compiling One Earth balance sheet is to start with compiling village level balance sheets first, okay, which comes together to form district level balance sheets, which combines with the city balance sheet, which comes together to form national balance sheets, which comes together to form regional balance sheets, and then ultimately the One Earth balance sheet. So when we had this, when we were thinking about this approach in 2021, it seemed very difficult and it seemed, impossible. But now with advancements in, AI, more and more people are, believing that this is possible. And I think this is now, possible with advancements in, the technology with data visualizations, data gathering, data analysis that can happen, and the computing power that increasingly the world is investing in. I think this is now possible.
Yeah, I think AI will bring more good to the world and will accelerate like whatever growth, like whatever path we wanted to take. So it's in our hands how we want to use it. So it's
Mm,
good that you are taking a step towards this direction. And
mm,
yeah, so just tell me like if you have done any pilot runs, or if you have already tested this accounting, tested this data collection in some villages. So, how was your experience, and what are the challenges you think that need to be addressed at the system level and at the community level? Like,
mm,
what do you want people to know about it?
mm. I think we piloted it. I mean, I piloted it at a first at a very small scale when I was writing the paper on this, which was published in 2023. So I wanted to make sure that I'm not delusioned, by it, and I really wanted to see how the
Mm-hmm.
community react. So I did it manually on an Excel sheet for a just for a community of just 20 people, compiling just their food balance sheet and
Mm-hmm.
presenting it to them, and see how it changes their goals and how it changes their paradigms and what insights it brings to them. So we did a food balance sheet for them, and so for example, we found out that they're consuming 420 kgs of apples in a year. All right, this is in Himachal Pradesh, and as you know that Himachal Pradesh, is a very fertile ground for apple trees, right? But they were buying all of these apples from outside, and they had 6 acres of land to themselves, okay, which was fallow. They were not, they've given up on farming and cultivation. So they realized that just by planting 8 apple trees, they can become self-sufficient in their apple consumption over a year. Okay, and like that, we did it for all the other items that they were consuming, and we found out that they can become 90% self-sufficient in their food just by planting 2 acres of the land that they had out of the 6 acres. And now, with the integration of the permaculture principles, they are moving towards in this direction and towards this target to plant their lands accordingly. So that was the aha moment for me, that it can really
Mm-hmm.
work and it helps people or the communities to set targets for themselves or put things into different perspective. And they also realize that it would lead about 25% savings to their income. But of course, doing it manually, I mean, I also realized the challenge of doing it without the help of technology. So I realized that we cannot really do this at scale if we have to do it for all the villages and villages where there are many households, not just 20 people. It's easy to do it for 20 people on an Excel sheet, but if you have to do even for 20 households or 50 households, you can't do on that. So that brought me to an idea of why don't we create maybe an app to do this.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we worked for 2 years to create an app and a dashboard, and the major part of it was, arriving at the data points and the data architecture of the whole thing. So now the app helps to compile food balance sheet, water balance sheet, energy balance sheet, even the mobility side of the things, then the demographic balance, social balance, economic balance. And we just did a I just returned yesterday doing a pilot run here in Bhutan in Rukha village, which is the first village we did this for. And then soon we have four pilot villages in Malaysia as well, where we are going to uh, you know pilot this. And if it works well, we want to scale it up to the other villages and arrive at national balance sheets first in Bhutan and in Malaysia. And then the long term aspiration is to set up maybe a global protocol for the balance sheet, which, because if it really has to scale, we cannot go ourselves and do it for every country or every community, right? It has to be taken up by the locals there, be it the CSOs or the government agencies, but it has to become interoperable with each other to come together to become a one earth balance sheet, right? So the data architecture has to remain same, and that's where I think we can play a key role to design that data architecture, which we already have in place, but to make
Mhm.
sure that it is adopted commonly and other too.
So this app that you're telling about, it's for two purposes, right? One is for data collection, and then the other is for viewing the dashboards, right?
Yep.
Okay, so and like if people want to know more about this initiative, or they want to get involved, so where do we find more about this? Like, do you have like more information on the website, or somewhere like people can get involved, or is it like it's in the process of being developed, whole thing is being developed right now, so where are we in the journey?
Yeah, we have so far not worked so much on the communications of it, or
Hmm.
the PR side of the things, but I think a good starting point can be the One Earth balance sheet paper and various different articles on the One Earth balance sheet that we have written. It's very easy to find. There's a TED talk also, and then I think we on omniverse.life website. That's the website where we are planning to put all of our work. So in coming few months, I think people can see some of these work being displayed there, and also the open source code to these applications and the dashboard.
Okay, okay, got it. Okay, so like moving on to next question, like since you said that you have tested this in Bhutan, did a pilot run in a small village, so I want to know if there was any hindrances from the government that you're like collecting data, public data, or is the government helpful? Like what is the role of the government in whatever you're doing?
So we did this in collaboration with a local CSO, okay, which has been working with indigenous communities, particularly in rural development sector for past 20 years. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
so there was this factor of trust with them, and because it's a very small village and it's a pilot run, it's an experiment. It was it is a research project. We didn't really. I mean, there was no serious concerns as such to anybody regarding this, and the way it is designed, okay, is I mean, it is designed to keep data accessible to the locals with their permission. Okay, so again, this comes from this insight that all the databases that we have at present are aggregated either at the district level, national level, or global level. Okay, but when policies are to be implemented, it is implemented at the grassroots level, that is at village level. Okay, and there is always this absence of data at the village level, which creates hindrances in policy action or to deliver any solution. So one example I would like to share is that as part of this global soil health committee, okay, to restore soil, when we have to really do that, we don't have data on where the soil or with which farmer the soil is really degraded. So if we want to deliver the solutions, how do we do that? Because there's no bottom up databases. So how we wanted to design this whole thing is to make sure that we do it really bottom up at the micro level, and then to also give the agency of the data to the owners of the data or to the contributors of the data. Okay, so again, today the data is being taken from them. Okay, but Number one, it is not accessible to them, and number two, it is being used here and there without their permission,
Right.
right? And many times commercialized also, but they are not getting any benefit out of that, right?
Right.
So this whole thing is being designed in a manner that the dashboard becomes accessible to them. They can see their own village level balance sheets and village level dashboards. And number two, that if anybody is monetizing this data, then it is with their permission and they get fair share of it.
Okay, okay, got it. So, on the point of organizations being involved, so who are the people and who are the organizations that are involved with your work currently?
Mm. There are several organizations. It is a growing growing team of organizations. So there's an organization, the primary organization is the Georgetown Institute of Open and Advanced Studies, okay, where this research project is based in Penang
Okay.
in Malaysia. And then in Bhutan, we are working in collaboration with the local foundation here, Tarayana Foundation, who has been into rural development sectors and working with grassroots level organizations. So they really have a good insight on um, and a good trust with the people at the grassroots level. So these are some of the organization, and then we have some support from professors at the Professor John Crawford, particularly from the University of Glasgow, right? And then there's Stuart Kaufman from USA and his group, Eve and Carol Ann and Mike and others, um, with whom we
So, it's
keep.
truly a global effort, right? So,
Yeah,
everyone is
really,
involved.
yeah, many are involved. Yes.
Okay, so it's not something that just came up to you and you're individually doing it. Many people from all over the world are
Yeah.
interested in this.
As I as I said that we are not doing anything new, and then it's not just one person's idea. Okay, it's just many things coming together, and we are just trying to uh, be the catalyst. Okay, where we can. Okay, so as Andrew many times says that. Uh, think global, act local, okay? And acting local is acting in your circle of influence. So we are all acting just in our circle of influence as much as we can.
Okay. Okay, got it. So, regarding your future plans, so do you have any events coming up or anywhere like where do you see as it going so that people can know more about it?
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there are several. I mean, every year we do a conference. Okay, so last year we did a conference in Bhutan. Before, also we had a conference in Penang in Malaysia. This year we're not doing a conference in Malaysia, but we are doing a major conference here in Bhutan in June. So that's one of the events that's coming up, and that event is about operationalizing GNH, how we can move away from the GDP mindset and really operationalize GNH at the grassroots level. And that talks about the ecosystem of the initiatives that is needed and an alliance, or a declaration that can maybe come out of it, and would also involve, sessions on technology, that how AI and, initiatives in with the global, the One Earth balance sheet, that the global Creative Commons, which is about, creating a One Earth knowledge network, how these all can come together to operationalize DNH at the grassroots level. So that's something which is coming up. Apart from that, we spent some time working on a book that again describes all of these things and the thinking behind it in detail, and the ecosystem of the initiatives also. That's in the pipeline as well, which hopefully we'll be able to publish this year.
Okay, okay. Got it. So if suppose I want to contribute to your project, or if anyone else from all over the world wants to contribute to your project, what are the options? How can we maybe contribute through our talent or through resources? Like, how can we contribute?
I mean, feel free to write to us, and even if you can't engage with us, directly, and if you're interested in this sphere, particularly in how how development works and how you can help people at the grassroots level. So there are many ways to do that, and I think some of the resources which are already on the website could be really useful. And then those who wants to take up individual projects can start with, even compiling their own society's balance sheet. If you're living in a cooperative society or in an apartment, you can compile your own apartment's balance sheet and see, how it works. Or you can compile your own family's balance sheet for that matter, and see how that works. So it's not necessary that you have to be directly associated with us to contribute towards this project. But if you want to become part of it, please feel free to write to us. Most of our team, by the way, who are working on this project, were these passionate seekers or enthusiasts who wanted to work on something like this, and we just serendipitously got connected to each other.
Yeah, so you just start doing a thing, and if it's good enough, people will join join the force.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm. Mm.
Okay. So is there I know that the leadership of Bhutan is very, very helpful and in this initiative. So do you want to give any message to the leaders of other countries of the world? Because right now the world is, the leadership in the world is a very turbulent situation. So do you want to give any message out to the leaders of the world that what
Uh,
direction should we go in?
Yeah, I mean, I've been watching these, many videos now. I mean, and following the news recently with this, the AI summit that happened in Paris, and with, this whole race towards AGI, right? Which nation can reach there first, with USA investing so much now, Europe investing so much, and then China and other countries, investing so much towards it. What I feel is that AI is has already started giving us, and in future would give us this productivity surplus, right? And this whole race of AGI is towards to unlock that productivity so that the things can move really fast, the development can happen really fast. We don't have to wait
Right.
like before to for development to occur, or for productivity to be unleashed. So there is going to be a huge productivity surplus, and I feel that we should not and we should really think. I mean, all the leaders in the world should really think about that, where they want to channel this productivity towards. Okay, do we really want to channel this productivity towards increasing more consumption, that is increasing the GDP blindly, or we want to channel this productivity or the surplus time that the humanity will unlock towards things that really makes us human, like spending time with the family, creating art, sharing gifts with each other. So it's really that question that we now really, as the humanity, need to think about, that where we want to channel this surplus time or productivity that AI is going to give us.
So on that note of AGI, so do you think that we will be needing universal basic income sometime in the future? And is it related somewhere to your project on One Earth balance sheet?
I mean, I personally feel that it shouldn't be so much struggle as it is today, just to ensure our survival as humans. Okay, with all the technology, convenience, and comfort that we have created thanks to the science and our ancestors, for that matter, we shouldn't be spending so much of our time just to fulfill our survival needs, right? Like majority of the humans, at least more than 90% of the humans today, are spending most of their time just fulfilling their survival needs. But what if these survival needs can be easily taken care of? It's just food, energy, water, shelter, clothing, and education and healthcare, right? It's just these six things. If we can use the advancement in AGI or AI to provision these for everybody on this planet, okay, then it would really unlock the human potential of creativity and a good life, right? Rather than always living in this insecurity or fear of losing our basic livelihood or survival.
So universal basic income is a step towards that, right? So I think the data which you will collect in this project, I think it will be a um, very important stepping stone on which we can base this universal basic income thing. If suppose if we have balance sheet for the whole earth, so you can like maybe develop a very smart AI model and just feed all the data into it, and we can just draw insights like how the resources should be distributed, how actually we should use money, like what should be money in that scenario, right?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I wouldn't want to term it as universal basic income in the sense of, monetary terms, but I would really want to term it in the sense of the actual physical units of the resources. Okay, because money or income could be ambiguous, and then it shouldn't mean that, that it creates, lethargy or laziness in the society that people. I mean, it shouldn't be taken as, that it's universal basic income means that we are all entitled to it without working, without, spending even an hour towards doing anything. But there should be a sense of, volunteerism, or working not for our own self, but for provisioning this for everybody on this planet, and that may require us to, volunteer certain hours of our day or our week towards, maintaining this system. So I think it would happen, but it would happen with this, not, in a manner that would would not require us to work at all, but maybe require us to work on a different social contract than what it is at present.
Okay, okay, got it. So do you want to give any message to maybe the youth out there who will be uh, who will be growing up into the world that is to come, and what should we put our energies into, what should we put our focus into? Any
Mm.
message you want to give to the youth?
Um, I think, most of the youths, they are really in a difficult situation, and I think we shouldn't pressure them, so much, because when they are coming out of their colleges, they're really figuring out the meaning of life, and they're really figuring out, uh, how they can sustain themselves. And at that point of time, especially in their early career, it is important for them to secure their survival, right? Because if they have not secured their survival, then they can really not, think about anything else. So I would really tell
Right.
them to first, focus on securing your basic survival that can make you comfortable enough, or at least, you can live a good life. And then, focus your surplus time or energies on really questioning, all the things that makes this world work, all our social constructs and, social contracts that we have created, to not think of them as something which is God given, but to think of them as something which is open to redesign. And today, in today's time, it is, I mean, for personally for me and everybody that I talk to, in especially in our circle, it's such an exhilarating time to be in, because it's time of recreation, right? We are literally in the times where, we are recreating the thing. So it's a beautiful time to be in. And once you do not have to worry about your survival, you can really spend time, recreating, and then recreate from the space, where you feel that what would be truly meaningful to life, for just not for yourself, but also for the rest of the world.
Any book recommendations that you have, or any resources to learn, to explore? What has
uh,
inspired you personally?
So there, we have a rich library on our website, omniverse.live. We've specially created that
Okay.
library to, showcase all the relevant reading materials which shaped our
Mm-hmm.
thinking, as well. There are several books. I mean, to the Indians, I would really recommend delving into the work of, I mean, in the academic circle, she's very well known, but not in the masses. Kapila Vatsyayan, her work, especially art and integral vision.
Mm-hmm.
And I think if anybody's watching this from, the other parts of the world, to them also I would really recommend, to delve into her work. Apart from that, I think, to the youths of our country in India, I would especially recommend reading Upanishads and Bhagavad Gita. I think that has more wisdom than any of the other books out there.
Mm-hmm.
But to the economics enthusiasts, I would like to, recommend them to go back to reading Kautilya, especially, first few chapters where he talks about the purpose of human life. As you know, there's four purposes of human life, that is artha, kama, dharma, and moksha. Okay, and then to really delve on that, how in today's time the whole society is focused towards just karma, that is pleasure, forgetting about the other three. And to the economists, all I mean, I would also recommend reading the original text of Adam Smith. Okay, because he has been misconstrued and misinterpreted so much. And I think to their disbelief, to those who have not read his work, they wouldn't believe that he mentioned the word invisible hand only once in his book. Okay. In the Wealth of Nations. All right. So I would really recommend them reading the original text of his book.
I mean, that's what is even taught in schools, right? Even in economics, when we study in, like in CBSE board also, in our curriculum, I think teachers use it freely, like invisible hand of Adam Smith. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. So he didn't actually mean, that it's the invisible hand of the market that will take care of things. What he actually meant was that there's this inner guide within all of us, okay, that will take care of the things. That inner guide would always stop us from doing something exploitative, and that would guide us towards the right direction. All right, but that inner voice has to be cultivated. Okay, and he realized that often, people wouldn't realize where their true self-interest lies. Okay, and I think the Indian saints also realized the same thing, but they went a step further to also enlist, or to also chalk out a path how you can, cultivate this inner voice and inner guidance. And they charted the whole roadmap for it. And that's, there are many paths towards it, yoga being one of them, the eight limbs of yoga being one of them.
right, right. Okay, so we like we can just go on and discuss about it, right? So yeah, thanks for doing it, and like looking forward to more of your initiatives. And just uh, just to remind myself, when is this conference that you said you're doing this year?
It's in June. Yeah.
Okay, it's in June, and everything, all the links of the organizations involved and your future initiatives, they will be all in the
All on the
somewhere
web.
around the video. Yeah. Okay, okay. Thank you for doing this and all the best.